I'm Lena Stevens from the Power Path, and I'm delighted to be here with you today to talk about the times, to talk about what you can do, and particularly to talk about a subject that we've been working with recently, and this is about the importance of keeping yourself and your space and your stuff clean of old energy so that you can move forward. So I thought I'd start just by talking a little bit about the times. And by the way, at any point, if anybody has a question or a comment, just post it. This is meant to be a little bit interactive here. So at any time you can post that and we'll try to get to your questions sometime during this talk. So the times that we're in, as you all know, we've been through these two eclipses. It's been pretty intense, and there's a lot of changes that are going through with everybody. A lot of stuff has been churned up. A lot of subconscious material has come to the surface. People are having weird dreams. The other day I was driving down the road and I just didn't even recognize the road, and I thought, gee, is this early senility or what? But no, it's that everything is shifting. Your reality is shifting. The fields are trying to accommodate that shift. It comes from the inside, from a need to move into a different state of consciousness, a different vibration, a different frequency. So we have these events that happen to support that. We have weather events, we have the eclipses, we have, planetary events that all support this need for change. So what I really want to impress upon everyone is this change is actually a very positive thing. And each one of us has to look at change, no matter how challenging it is at the time, as a move towards improvement. Okay? So if you're going to improve a space, well, you look at it and you go, well, it needs a fresh coat of paint, or it needs to be upgraded. It needs to be cleaned out. It needs to be dusted. How many of you have spaces in your house that you haven't even looked at, drawers or closets or garages where you haven't cleaned behind things? So that's the physical manifestation of it. But improvement is something that we should all be looking at, because in the course of this internal change that everyone is going through, and this is collective, by the way, this is planetary, this is not just individual. You are a piece of the entire whole here, and you're doing your part. So we're trying to support you in doing your part. And the improvement or the change that is occurring is going to get some extra juice in about a week. Everything is going to start to align itself, and there'll be a lot more energy that is going to come to the surface so that a lot of these internal things that you've been feeling can actually be physically manifest. So it's important to have some clarity, and it's important to have some good intentions. Now, the lack of clarity often comes from being too cluttered energetically, too many things on your plate, too many different people with all of their expectations of you. Maybe you're still attached to things that you said you wanted, or old dreams from years and years ago, maybe relationships that have left you feeling, uncertain about yourself, or guilty or shameful, or, whatever. So you're carrying emotions that tend to get in the way. You're also cluttered with perhaps old things in your space that no longer serve you. You're cluttered with old patterns that no longer serve you. So some of the things that you can do, of course, is to focus on clearing away things that you are already clear about that you don't need. Okay, so maybe there are a lot of things that you don't have clarity about, but some things you do have clarity about. You just don't know how to maybe get there. So the intention is the first thing that you set. You say, okay, I intend to improve myself. I intend to grab this energy, to harness this energy, not run from the intensity of it, but actually go into the storm and say, this is a lot of power here. This is a lot that I can gather, and I can just take it and support myself to move forward and to make a choice or make a decision that maybe is a little terrifying, and maybe you have been afraid to do it up to this point. So we always say that there's a very, very fine line between terror and excitement. And this is that thread that we're walking now, that tightrope that we're walking on. One side is tremendous terror. Oh, I can't do that. I don't have what it takes. I just can't go the distance. And on the other side is excitement, which is a higher frequency of energy, and it will bump you right up to that level where you go, I can do it. I can do it. So there's a difference between terror and excitement, and we're trying to move you towards the excitement of what's possible in the future, rather than the terror of everything that seems to be breaking down, that seems to be negative, that, you might look at some of your processes recently and say, well, gee, I haven't done anything. I haven't moved myself into any kind of a positive situation because this is all old garbage that's coming up into my psyche right now. So I'd like to talk about a few offerings that we have that can really help you. Starting with that, we've gathered a lot of our shamanic practitioners that have trained with us over many years, and they are going to be offering a special on house clearing and space clearing and personal clearing, but it's in person. Okay, and we do have practitioners all over the country, so you're likely to get somebody in your area. And there'll be an email going out about who those practitioners are with a link. So if you are not signed up on our actual mailing list, we really, really encourage you to do that. And that link will be in our comments, because this is a way that you can get directly an email that will announce, the different things that we have to offer right now that can support you. So we're offering this clearing, this house clearing by our practitioners, and you can contact them directly. I also did a webinar last April that was named at that time, because it was spring, it was the spring cleaning, shamanic spring cleaning of space, self, and stuff. And that is being launched today as an online class, so that if you missed that webinar, it was a very practical, very helpful set of tools and suggestions of what you can do to actually clear your space, and the reasons why, when you or your space or your stuff collects a lot of energy or has come into your life with old energy, how important it is to actually clear that, so that you can either make it yours and say, oh, I really like that, I'm going to keep it. Or you can say, that isn't me, that doesn't fit me. It doesn't matter that it's Aunt Martha's old dresser that is a family heirloom from 200 years ago. If you don't like it, pass it on. Otherwise, it's just going to sit there and hold a lot of energy. So one of the things that I do talk about in that class, in that webinar, is the importance of owning something before you can actually release it. So how many of us have just ended up with stuff, whether it's from our families or from old relationships, or just you've ended up with things that are not really connected with you. And so it's been difficult for you to even get rid of them because you haven't owned them first. So it's important to actually focus and notice what is in your field. So you can do that physically, of course, with your space, but you can also do it energetically with the energy that you might be holding for yourself. Recognizing, okay, what am I carrying around? What is all this stuff? Does it belong to me? And in that moment of acknowledging it, you own it. Okay, so in that moment of acknowledging what you have in your field, what you have in your space, or what you have physically in your space, you are owning it. And then you can immediately release it. You can say, oh, look at that. No, I don't want that. I'm releasing that. I'm giving it over. I'm, giving it to Goodwill. I'm selling it. I'm passing it along, whatever it is. So it's important that we spend some time in the next week or two to focus on this, because this is a crucial time. September is a month of adjustment. And what adjustment means is that you need to look at everything in your life and make adjustments. You have to fine tune it. You have to say, oh, this doesn't feel good. This feels yucky. This needs to be cleared. Sometimes it's difficult to do on your own. And that's why we have this practitioner special, because it provides you with some help. Okay, so that you can feel like, something that is just a little bit too overwhelming for you to actually focus on yourself, that you can get some help with, as well as this online class on clearing your space, yourself, and your stuff. The other offering that I'd like to remind you about is that I will be doing a remote shamanic healing, a group remote shamanic healing, which is also an online offering, this Saturday in the morning at 8 a.m. Mountain Time. Now, the past ones that we've done have been extremely helpful for people. We've gotten a lot of really amazing feedback about what's happened. And but they've been all on a Tuesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. So we thought we would change the time up so that those of you who are overseas and those of you who have mentioned that, Tuesday just doesn't work for you, that you can actually participate live. Now, if you can't participate live, just create a space for you to be able to accept the healing and accept that session, because you will get it whether you're live or not. And there's always a call-in option for that. So if you'd like to register for that, that's also, that link is going to be in the comments. I also want to talk a little bit about the patterns that right now are really up for people. Childhood patterns, trauma, old trauma that has been maybe hidden or buried, or you did some work on and you thought you were done with, but hey, all of a sudden something triggers it. If you've been triggered by anything, if you've been triggered emotionally or psychologically during these times, that's actually a good thing, because it means that material is coming up to the surface so that you can actually do something about it. Now, there's something called a family icon, which is a set of patterns that you have been imprinted with. It's an identity that you've been imprinted with that comes from your family, that comes from your culture, that comes from your community, that comes from the people in your life when you were growing up that were primary imprinters of you. And that is an identity that is a set of patterns that follows you throughout your lifetime. At some point, you need to look at that identity, look at that set of patterns and break free from it. Because to the extent that you are still informing your life, how you manifest your life from that set of patterns, you're not really free to begin to inform your life and to manifest your life from the core of your essence of who you are. So that's very, very powerful work. And Jose is going to be doing a webinar on that next Tuesday at noon Mountain Time. And that you don't have to be on live to get it. You'll have a 30-day access to it if you sign up. Before Tuesday, you will have that as an online webinar. And I highly recommend that, because even if there's parts of that family icon or that set of patterns that you say, well, gee, yeah, that is who I am, and it creates my foundation of wisdom and power, that's fine. you can take certain aspects of that imprinting, of that patterning, and make it your own. But often what happens is that there's a lot of that identity that is not useful to you anymore, that you are in resistance to. So it's a little bit like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So this will give you a chance to kind of look at it and decipher what is useful to keep and what isn't. And at least really open your eyes to some of what might be informing all of your life and why you tend to create the same thing over and over again, and why you feel a little bit like you are not free from that. So I'm going to briefly comment on the fires and hurricanes. That was one of the questions that came up. And, you know, I mentioned in the September forecast that we are in unstable times. And I think there's also a mention of that on our monthly support audio, which is also another recommended support for you if you feel like you need some more support. So think of the whole planetary system as a set of patterns. Okay, so if you recall as a child, maybe you had a workbook where it was a bunch of dots, and your job was to take a pencil and connect the dots. And once you connected the dots, you know, all the dots together, it would come out with a picture, okay, some sort of an image. So the planet has been a connection of dots that has created a certain image, and it's been in somewhat of a balance. Well, these recent events have removed the connections between the dots. So now the dots are just floating around chaotically, trying to figure out how they're going to be reconnected in a new configuration. So this creates a great deal of instability on our planet right now. So anything that occurs climate-wise or planetary-wise that is a natural event is like an answer, or it's a support to what is going on internally with each one of us. So as the intensity of our own growth process intensifies, the patterns out there climactically and in terms of weather and in terms of natural phenomena, they're going to intensify as well. So we have cleansing, we have fire, we have cleansing, we have water, we have cleansing, we have wind, we have the element of air. So earth, of course, is next, right? So we could expect some earthquakes and maybe some volcanic activity to follow all of this as well. So again, it's about holding some level of neutrality around it and recognizing that this is just what is. It's just what is happening. And to see how you can use the energy rather than resist it. So change. You know, change is being supported by the hurricanes, by the fires, by other phenomena which will likely be happening. And it is designed to keep us in this place of instability. And everyone is feeling it. It's unstable. Everything is unstable, whether it's the earth, whether it's your community, whether it's the political arena, whether it's the how everybody on the planet is getting along with each other or not, the trust levels, everything is unstable. So what can you do to bring about some stability for yourself? Well, connection with the earth and connection with the sun and the sky realm is very important at this time. So we highly recommend, and you can do this right now, you can just close your eyes and focus on that first chakra, that base of your spine, where if you had a tail, it would grow. And just grow a big root down into the earth, because unstable times tend to uproot things. You're uprooted. It's just like a hurricane comes in and uproots trees, and fires come in and they uproot things. So reroot yourself into the earth, because the earth, regardless of what it's manifesting to support our change, the earth is actually balanced, is always in a state of balance and stability. Okay, which is a little bit of a paradox, but that's how it goes. So send that root down into the center of the earth. And you might feel like there's a tremendous amount of energy. There's a tremendous amount of creativity in the earth. And this is what's needed right now, is to reconnect with a certain level of creativity that perhaps hasn't been available before. It's a higher vibration of creativity. So bring that up through that root that you just put down into the earth. Feed yourself with the stability and the balance of Pachamama, and have that energy come up into your whole pelvic area, and then just continue on up into your heart. And then take a deep breath and feel anchored to the earth. And then put your attention up into the heavens and connect with the sun. Now the being, the spirit, the energy of the sun is really what is driving this evolutionary change. So connect yourself to the sun via a cord or a channel that comes up through your heart and goes up through the top of your head, through your crown, and all the way up into the sun. And allow that solar energy to filter down through that connection, all the way down through your crown and into your heart, mixing with that beautiful energy from the earth. So you have a mixing going on, a balancing going on between the sun, the solar energy, and the earth energy. That's masculine from the sun, feminine from the earth. So you're creating your own balance from within. The solar energy brings clarity, and the earth energy brings creativity and nurturing. So those two are mixing together, and just know that this energy is available to you so that you can move yourself forward in some intention of improvement, because this is what it's all about. So thank you for joining me. We're going to wrap it up right now, unless there's some other questions that come in, but I don't think so. So have a wonderful day, everyone.